Now, there's no question a lot happens in American politics that can impact the U.S. beef cattle industry. Take, for example, the presidential election. Ethan Lane, NCBA's Vice President of Government Affairs, tells us what the results of the election could mean for those of us in the cattle business in this week's Beltway Beef Spotlight.
Nearly 3 weeks after the presidential election of 2020, we are finally starting to see some results from those votes around the country, and we're starting to get a picture of what the federal government is going to look like for cattle producers moving into next year. As President Trump's legal team works their challenges through the legal system in states around the country, the Biden team has begun their transition process. NCBA is engaging vigorously with that transition to ensure that as the government comes together over the next few months, your interests will be represented in all of the federal agencies that impact the U.S. cattle industry, whether that be the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Interior, EPA, Department of Transportation, or any other federal agency that you need to do business with in order to be successful. And while the results of the presidential election shocked a lot of people for many different reasons, the House of Representatives and the Senate also had some incredibly interesting results given the polling that we saw leading up to the election. Despite lots of predictions from pollsters around the country that the Democrats would pick up seats in the House of Representatives and perhaps reclaim the U.S. Senate, what we've seen so far is Republicans holding the U.S. Senate, pending 2 runoff races in Georgia with David Perdue, the senator, and Senator Kelly Loeffler, both in those runoff elections. But we've also seen a net 10-seat pickup at least for the House of Representatives for the Republicans, with several races still outstanding in multiple states. I can tell you many of these new members to Congress are real friends of the cattle industry. Your team here in Washington, D.C. has spent countless hours over the last year meeting with some of these candidates and developing relationships, so that on day one of the new Congress, we will have those kinds of contacts to ensure that your message reaches them right away as they start deliberating on legislation here in our nation's capital. NCBA works to ensure that no matter what the federal government looks like, your interests are going to be represented. And that's as true today as it's been in the past. We look forward to engaging with this new government coming into place, and we look forward to representing your interests and putting more wins on the board moving forward. Thank you for continuing to share your views with members of Congress around the country and with us here in Washington, D.C. The grassroots policy you pass is what gives us our marching orders day to day, and we thank you for all that you do.